Hello everyone, and welcome to the One World Centre seminar on sustainability for small businesses, climate change and small businesses. I'm Dr. Christa McCartney. My doctorate is in teaching sustainability to business, and I'm going to be giving you some ideas today on things that we can do as businesses to help move the world forward as we enter the world of climate change. So by the end of this seminar, we will have been talking about and considering the things that we need to be preparing for over the coming years, the likely trajectory of regulation, the opportunities change will bring, and some ideas on what steps you can start taking right now. To start off with, we'll just have a quick overview. I know you're all aware of the changes climate change is bringing in, but just a very quick overview of the sorts of things that are happening out there. So in 2020, that's the year for which we have the last amount of records, there were an above average number of natural catastrophes, more than double the amount of natural catastrophes we had 20 years ago. So that's hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, droughts, wildfires, and they of course bring significant humanitarian impact that affects business by itself, but also these natural catastrophe incidents were responsible for 268 billion in economic losses, and according to the insurer Aon, 64% of those were uninsured. So the frequency, the severity of these disasters are going to increase. And the insurance to cover these disasters is also going to become problematic. As we know, 2021, we have seen floods in London, floods in Germany, in Belgium, in China, wildfires, droughts. So we're certainly not seeing less climate change, and it's increasing every year, year on year. So globally, what do we need to think about? Well, all of these disasters and also the changing in the seasons and the changing in the temperatures are affecting all our food production. That's going to affect the quality, where things are grown. It's going to affect the cost of what we're paying for, especially if we're food businesses, the availability of it. There are going to be regulations on travel, on transport. There's going to be changes on supply chains, labour insecurity. There's going to be more migration as places become impossible to live in, or people are leaving due to floods or other natural disasters. The increase in flooding, fires and drought, and there will be higher income inequalities as we go through. People will be losing their jobs, insurances will be coming higher. It's going to be harder in some areas to be growing food or fishing or making a living. So there's less disposable income in some areas, and that's going to come into affecting what we can do for businesses. So as a business, that's going to bring additional costs. We have to worry on the Isle of Man about flooding, things like that, but we also need to be thinking about how we're changing our energy usage. We're going to be having additional costs to our business. Also, there are health issues that come through because of this. We'll see in some slides later the things like, and I'm sure you will have heard, because of COVID, we are far more likely to have far more health issues going forward due to changes in weather, due to the transmissibility of airborne viruses. We're going to have more extreme weather. It's quite likely we'll have fewer customers because of income inequality. And there are going to be many laws, regulations and preventative measures coming in that we need to take care of. So here is the SDC climate change forecast analysis. We're going to be seeing far more change. Precipitation variability, so far more rain, drought, heat wave risk of desertification, I can never say that, cyclones, tropical cyclones, flood risks, melting glaciers, food insecurity. We're going to lose crops. Crops are going to be grown differently in different places. Reduced crop production, adverse impacts on livestock, And with health, we've got heat-related health impacts, water and foodborne diseases, vector-borne diseases, and regionally, all of this is very prone to lead to political instability. So this is the forecast for wheat production in 2050, and we can see that the yellow is where we currently grow wheat, that it's going to be much more difficult to grow it. The green is where it's going to be better. So we can see the change here in where wheat production is going to be taking place. Same here in coffee. So a lot of the places where they are currently growing coffee, hot, dry places, hot, wet places, constant places, the quality is likely to start slipping down. But around Rio here, where it's cool and dry, you can see that's where the coffee production is going to go. It's also going to move to different countries. California is already growing coffee. Okay, and this is just here to show you that, as you can see here, we are an importing country of food. So all of these changes in food production are going to be affecting us. Okay, so here's some of the things that will be happening due specifically to climate change. So cold regions are becoming warmer. Warm places are heating up further. So the best growing conditions for crops are moving away from the tropics and from lower lying land, and it's going to cooler climes. I've spelt that wrong, my apologies. So there are fish and other underwater catches too migrating to colder seas as their habitats are warming. So this evolving climate means big changes for the people who are growing, the people who are catching, and the people that are rearing animals for a living. And therefore the knock-on effect for everybody else who buys and eats what they produce. Threats to the quality of our basic staples, which include wheat and corn and wine and coffee. And there are likely to be changes to prices as traditional supplies are changing. So some examples of changing supplies is wheat. So Russia has bumper crops of wheat. So a lot of our wheat is likely to come out of Russia. British fine wine is developing. We have been better and better, but French wine is having a lot of trouble with wine diseases and with changes in climate. Our trawlers in the UK are catching less cod and haddock, but more squid and anchovies. So we're importing cod from Iceland, China and Norway, but we're selling squid to Spain. So there's a change in dynamic. Coffee farmers in Indonesia, Ethiopia and Peru are venturing uphill, as we saw in the slide earlier. They are struggling with pests and diseases due to the changes in climate. In Brazil, the coffee growing area is shrinking. California is growing coffee. So we can see on the World Economic Forum, they did a survey of where people think that the global risks are, and we can see right at the top here, climate action failure and extreme weather. And almost all of these other things that are seen as separate are actually all connected. So biodiversity loss, problems with water, natural disasters, human-made environmental disasters, that's getting all our infrastructure wrong, governance failures. A lot of these are going to come directly out of climate change and responses to that and reactions to that. So climate change is affecting almost everything that is a risk in business. So what's happening specifically in the Isle of Man? Well, we're getting more flooding in the winter. We are getting summer heat waves, wasn't it lovely last week? Rising sea levels, storm surges, increasing erosion. We have infrastructure that we need to put in place to protect us against the flooding and the storm surges and the summer heat waves. We just need to take care of our infrastructure, and we need to make sure that our wildlife and our ecosystems are taken care of in the best way that we possibly can. There's only so much that we can do, but we need to be doing everything that we can. So this is our 2019 Isle of Man emissions, mostly residential, as you can see, 12% on business, a lot of that's manufacturing. If you're doing the maths, you can see at the bottom here, the savings from land use change and forestry has not been factored in, so it does add up to 104. But yes, so it's not all on transport. So the way that business operates is having quite a large effect, and the way that we are heating our homes as well. So there are things that we can do to dramatically reduce it. So, okay, there are three main pillars that are used globally to help us plan our change. The first thing is our adaptation to it. We do need the infrastructure. We do need to know that there are going to be more and more climate disasters happening. We need to be prepared for flooding. We need to be prepared for drought. We need to be prepared for fire. We need to adapt what we're growing. So we need to look at what actually is happening and adapt to that. We need to not be putting any more emissions out there. So we need to clear up our energy to prevent things going too far. We need to look after the landscapes that we have. We can't keep taking things out of the planet and then putting it on waste ground. So we need to have sustainable landscapes. We need to be growing well. We need to be farming well. And we need to be mining well. We need to be fishing well. We need to be looking after the landscapes that we have. We need to be looking after our earth and our planet. So yes, we're not this is the very important thing. Climate change is to a very large extent led by business. So most problems have been caused by the Industrial Revolution, or since the Industrial Revolution, by inconsiderate and irresponsible business practices, where there was just this idea that there was always more resources, that you could just pillage the landscape, throw it away, and that could continue indefinitely. So business has caused a lot of these problems, but business will also solve these problems by being considerate, by being responsible, and because business in general is brilliant. Business can design, business can see the problem, business can fix the problem. That's how business makes its money. It finds something that is needed and it scales it. So businesses can see a problem, find a solution, manufacture whatever is needed, design it, sell it, scale it, and set the new normal. So if we're going to change the way that people are working in the world, if we're going to change the way that people react with emissions, we need business. We can't do it without business. This is not something that governments can do. So business leads climate change. And that means that now we're in a situation where climate change is going forward very, very quickly. Business is back. It's at the forefront of everything. We're really reliant on businesses saving the world. But this time, business is here for good. That's our job. We cannot save the world without business. Business, however, can't do this by itself. So it does rely on rules and regulations. Not every business owner is going to be thinking this way at the beginning. Sometimes people just fall into it later on. And so we need support from government. We need the support of the UN, who actually the UN has been ahead of this for a long time. They started in 1992, realizing that business and government needed to work together. And this came out of the Rio summit. But now, obviously, it's picking up pace with things like the Paris Agreement. And we're going to have Glasgow as well. So things are moving. And regulation around those three pillars we saw earlier on is going to be there to give the support to business that it needs, because it also means that they are going to be able to give incentives. They are going to be able to make sure that these things happen. So regulation isn't really anything that businesses should fear. Regulation is really a coalition between business and government, which will allow the business leaders and the political leaders to work together to put their attention towards solving the problem. And a reiteration here, it is not too late. It's really not too late. We have to be very quick, but we can do this if we work together and we work quickly. And after all, that is what we are in business for. So the whole point of being in business is that we are engineers in a way of finding problems that can be fixed, and of fixing them for a profit. So it's what we do well. And if we all work together, we can get this done. So just a very quick overview. And it's just talking through what's going on the Isle of Man here. So we have a mandated climate change action, mandated in Tynwald. There's a climate change transformation board with chief minister, other politicians, advisors. There's a citizens forum, which Ali leads. There is a steering group of the CEOs of the various departments, and there's a climate change transformation team. So there is a lot of effort going on the Isle of Man at the moment to ensure that the support will be there for the businesses to make the change that's needed. And we'll be looking at laws and regulations coming out of the Paris Agreement, which the Isle of Man does want to sign up to, which hopefully is going to be moved forward, stepped up this year in Glasgow. The EU announced a couple of weeks ago that they are going to bring in some quite strong and strict laws and regulations. They are worried they're going to have trouble going through all the countries in Europe, but they're going to push for it anyway. We can look at some of those EU new laws and regulations and take some of those if they fit our circumstances. It certainly gives benchmarks. UK has regulations and laws. We're looking at that already. I know there are consultations on things like plastics that are following UK regulations and laws. Again, the Isle of Man is different, but we have those to refer to. And locally, we're going to have targets, obligations, and regulations that all of us as business owners and leaders are going to be required to follow. Okay, so if all this looks like far too much to be going on, it's okay. Globally, we've gone past a lot of the denial. I think we can look at what's going on around and see it now actually as a problem. But just a normal challenge, just a challenge that we can actually fix. Yes, we might have anxiety. Some of us might have the at last something is going to change look. Some of us might be fearful. We're certainly having threats to what we're doing. But that's okay, because we can stop and look at what they are, we can analyse them, we can do something about it. And we're hopefully going to get in this seminar to realise that we have come as far as an acceptance. So it might have been gradual, it might be sudden. However, will we accept the situation where we're at the minute and find a way to see ourselves in the future? To see ourselves in a zero carbon future where we are able to trade profitably and responsibly without causing damage to our planet, and go, well, hey, this can work and this can be good, and to move forward. So it's a step-by-step thing. Don't underestimate what you're doing already. If you have a quick think, I don't know how long you've been in business, but if you've been in business 10, 15, 20 years, and you think back to things that you were doing previously when you first started, you'll probably be amazed at the things that you are doing already. Just little things that, as your mindset's changed, as other things have become available, you've taken on board, you've started doing other things because it's become much easier. So it's that acknowledging and acceptance that climate change is actually real, that you know quite a lot about. things now, that you're aware of many more things than you did before. And that if you can take this nudge theory, where you take on a little bit of something that you can do, you commit to doing that, nothing too much, nothing overwhelming, and then you just use that to then see what else is out there, and you just move a little bit at a time, being aware of what's around. And a lot of that will come from talking to other people, and from partnerships, and from forums like this, and seminars there's going to be, and just general chatting, just seeing what's around and taking on bits at a time. So you can now get a certificate if you don't have single-use plastics anymore. So it's Beach Buddies together with Beach Buddies. So little things like that, you might be able to look at it and go, oh, that's a little nudge. If I just make a slight change there, then I can sign up to that. So the more you are aware of that's around, the more things that you'll be able to look at and go, oh yeah, I can nudge towards that. I can do that. So you just take one step at a time, but you commit to that step and you move forward. And the other thing is starting new ventures from the outside in, and we're going to talk about that now. So that means traditional business, you form your business, you do your business plan, you start that, and then you start looking at the things around you. You start looking at the outside, and you can start looking at how your business affects those, and you try to mitigate it. So you react to what's going on outside, and you try to cause the least damage that you can. Ventures that start from the outside in, they are looking at trying to fix the problem. So they would look at climate change. They will look at maybe things that businesses are going to need in order to be able to transition to zero carbon, and they would fill the gap. So you're looking from the outside, and you're then creating a business based on what is needed. The first step you need to take is to find out where you fit as a business on this typology. So I'll be going into all of these in more detail, but basically you move through business as usual to thinking about being more sustainable, but purely to make a bigger profit, actually. And then you move from there to taking on a triple bottom line. All of these are inside out. And at the end, you're creating value from the common good. You're starting with challenges, and that's outside in. So we're talking about broadening your business concern, expanding the value you're creating, and changing the perspective of the business. So I'll talk through these one by one. So for business as usual, we've got Milton Friedman's The Business of Business is Business. So economic concerns is what concerns the business. So you want turnover, profit, market share, shareholder value. That's all that matters. So it's government that takes care of society. It's government that takes care of ecology. And a business as usual might give money as a charity donation for tax purposes or whatever, but that's not the main focus. That's not a focus, really. That would be a distraction. So in a business as usual company, they outsource societal and ecological concerns to the government. Yeah, so Neutron Jack Welch, CEO of General Electric, lauded, praised and admired because his bottom line, just by general bad behaviour, was very, very strong. Yeah, so if you study business, you quite often will study Jack Welch and General Electric. It's caused a lot of problems. Nestle, pre-2016, also a business as usual business, boycotted, terrible reputation. I boycotted Nestle for 20 years. No need now. Now they have woken up. They're making some quite significant changes. So keeping an eye on it, but traditionally wasn't at all concerned with society or ecology. Volkswagen, also bottom line profit, as we can see from the court cases with the emissions scandal. So they are just concerned for turnover. And then we move on to business sustainability 1.0. So a lot of people think that this is where businesses should be aiming for, but it isn't. This is just the first step. So this is where you notice your social, you notice your ecological concerns, you notice that there's climate change, and you make changes. You try to adapt to it. But your economic objectives are remaining your only priority. But what you recognize is that managing your sustainability will help you save costs, it will help you reduce risks, it will improve your attractiveness as an employer, it will differentiate you from your nasty competitors. So this is probably what they would call CSR, corporate social responsibility. I teach this as well, and quite often when I'm teaching it or when I see the things that are written about it, this is all they talk about. They talk about making your profit by saving costs and reducing risks and improving your attractiveness as an employer, blah, 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 blah. It's really just about managing your chances and risks that stem from issues. So noticing the issues and trying not to get yourself into trouble. But sustainability in this case is just a means to an end. So it's ensuring that your company has a long-term future, but the end of it is basically economic success. Same thing. So you will see companies talking about this a lot. So companies like Tesco, Marks and Spencer's, Nestle, post 2016, Shell, they're all talking about their sustainability credentials, but basically what they're changing simply still to improve their bottom line. Okay, so now we're going to move into the next one, business sustainability 2.0. At this point, we start actually getting into proper business sustainability and where we're trying to aim for. So now we're looking at a triple bottom line. So our value is not just financial value. We also put a value on the society we live in. We also put a value on our planet. If you think about it, we cannot make any money unless we have got a stable society. We cannot have a stable society unless we have a stable environment to live in. Once we start having our floods and drought, then that is going to affect our society. Once our society is disturbed, then we're not going to be able to make economic growth. It's just logical. It has to come from a triple bottom line. So they're all equally important, but we do need to think of the environment as the large circle and society inside that, and then inside that we're going to have our economic concerns, because we can't expect our economy to grow if our environment is broken. It cannot happen. So it's a different way of looking at value. We need to value all three of them equally. And this is where we get business sustainability 2.0. So we rethink our one-sided goal of profit maximization. We start pursuing a triple bottom line. Okay, so our value creation is now not just shareholders. So our value is also environmental value. Our value is also in having a strong society. If we value the fact that what we're doing is creating an environment that's allowing us to have a strong economy, we are putting value into the environment. If we are looking at our society and we're trying to aim to have a society which is functional, where there is safety, where people are secure, then we're also encouraging our economical security. So our value creation covers all three. But in order to achieve these goals, we need to think of sustainable strategies and plans with properly sustainable management systems and with proper reporting, so we really know what impacts we're having. And then we need to embed this triple bottom line in structure. And we need to define and implement responsibilities, and we need to look at the programs that we do according to a triple bottom line. So there are many companies that do this. The leader over the past 10, 15 years has been Unilever. and Unilever. Lego is very strong too. Nike has come up to this because it had some really bad reputational issues, but they've really taken on the societal mantle, especially with Black Lives Matter. So Unilever, Danone, Lego, Nike, there are many others as well. And Sustainability 2.0 is really where we should be thinking of heading if we are a traditional business. Ideally, of course, we're going to be moving to 3.0. So 3.0 is where we become an activist company, where actually we're not reducing negative effects, we're creating positive ones. So actively contributing to sustainability problems, shifting ourselves from this inside our business to outside, and now going to what's outside, let's bring it into our business and see what we can do. So we're looking at the challenges that are out there. We're looking at our resources. We address them using our resources. So this is particularly suited to startups, social businesses, where you can look at the challenges that are out there, these climate change challenges, and just see them as opportunities. And look at the social and ecological issues, and also see that this is an opportunity to fix a huge problem in the world, to scale it, to become profitable, to become self-sufficient. We're not NGOs, we're not charities. We are there to make a profit. So we have to become profitable. We have to become self-sufficient. And there are several companies that are set up on this premise. So one of the earliest ones was Lush. Lush sells bath bombs and things like that. That's not actually its business. What its actual business is teaching sustainable farming and activism. It just uses the soaps and the bath bombs to fund it. Patagonia, becoming more and more business sustainable at 3.0, started off as a 2.0 company, but now is actively looking at the problems and designing their things to meet that problem and going out and being an activist company. Tesla set up to solve the problem of emissions, car emissions. Also, Elon Musk and the solar panels. Ben and Jerry's, very, very societally based, very activist. Over here on the Isle of Man, you have things like the foraging vintners. So let's get local, let's forage, let's make things that are local. Very, very important activist company. So this is what we want to really be trying to aim for. Okay, so now we know the different companies. We know whether we are a business as usual wanting to move to a 1.0, a 1.0 that wants to stay as a 1.0, a 1.0 wanting to move to a 2.0, or a 2.0 wanting to move to a 3.0, or a startup. We know once we've found out where we think we fit on there, then we can work out what it is that we need to do. So we need to look at, they call this ESG. And ESG is monitored throughout the globe. These days you get metrics for it. If you are a public limited company, you have to produce these reports. And people invest according to how high your environmental, societal and governance impact is. You could or should also, and I know Ali and Wendy have got links to places where you can go to try and get your metrics and your data, but you should start collecting your data to assess your position. What impact are you having with your emissions? What is your environmental impact? What impact are you having on society? And what impact is being made at, and I think in small businesses, governance is not that important because we're not talking about boards of directors. If we are talking about boards of directors to any of your companies or anybody who's listening into this later, then have a look at some of the decisions that you're making. And these will be decisions, pay decisions, succession decisions. Just look at what impact is that having long term. What impact is that having on the planet? Collect your data, assess your position. And then also do a lot of research. There's plenty of information on what's happening. There's plenty of information on government actions, but you should really know what's going on out there. There's plenty of information out there because people are putting it out there for you to take hold of this information and use it. Make sure you're up to date on what is actually happening out there. Twitter's very good for that. I use Twitter quite a lot. Just always keep in touch with the news there is on the BBC News or on the Guardian or Telegraph or whatever it is you're in. You can follow specific areas of interest. You can follow areas for sustainability and climate change and see what news is coming out. Financial Times, obviously. Also, if you haven't looked at sustainability recently, look again. If you only looked 3 or 4 years ago, well, maybe actually even 2 years ago, things have changed very, very quickly. So whereas you thought you couldn't do something because it wasn't too expensive or a product wasn't out there, look again. New innovations and businesses are meeting new needs all the time. So have a look and see what's been invented. There was the government, I can't remember what it's called, when they're looking at plastics, we were filling out what they're talking about of plastics. And one of the things was, well, plastic straws still need to be used for medical reasons. And when this was first brought in the UK, that was the case. These days they have new materials. So it's plastic, but it's not plastic. So cellulose straws, things like that. So there are new things coming out all the time that can make you rethink what you can and you cannot do. You might not have been able to afford to move from your single-use plastics 2 years ago. You might be able to now because there are plenty of new businesses and plenty of new materials. So look and see what's there. And make sure that as you are discovering new things and you are seeing things there, that your employees are also on the same level that you are, so that they understand how you are working, how you are thinking. So if you need to provide training, make sure that there's training there. So bring people along with you, talk about what you know. And also check for grants, check for incentives. So as government regulations are stepping up, as climate change becomes more and more worrying and things need to move faster, incentives to help people move faster will become available. They're likely to increase many times over the next few years. Keep looking, keep seeing what's available there. This, to me personally, this is the most important. Not trying to do it by yourself. Especially in the business world, you can never achieve as much alone as you can do together. We are all in business because we all have a brain that can fix things and a brain that can see where there's a need and can find a way to meet that need at a profit. That's what we do. So we need to talk to each other. We need to look at what's going on around. The Chamber of Commerce has a climate change project. That would be a really useful thing to get involved with. The biosphere will be a really useful thing to get involved with. We need to be talking to each other. We need to be knowing what other people are doing. We need to be getting recommendations. We need to be seeing where there are gaps in a market that we can fill. We need to connect through social media. We need to connect through business. We've got a solution to find. We've got several solutions to find. We've got hundreds of solutions to find. This is a really big problem and it's going to take all of us to fix it, and we all need to be working hard and we all need to be a team. We need to be working together. We need some sort of forum. We just need to find and make spaces where we can have this dialogue. So I have after this the supply chain. I put it in as an afterthought because normally it's a sustainability issue, but when I put it in as this is hugely important. Actually, you need to understand exactly where you fit. So it's part of getting all your data. What are you affecting? Who are your customer's customer? Who's your supplier's supplier? What effect are you actually having further away than what you can see as your immediate business? We're going to be moving to a circular economy. We're all trying to reduce, reuse, recycle. We can't keep filling up the landfill. We can't keep disposing of things. I don't know if any of you have looked at donut economics, but But economics is changing, where we're no longer having this trickle-down economy. I know they're still trying to push it in some places, but there's just general acceptance that we need to move from this trickle-down economy, because it's not serving the planet, it's not serving society. So there is this move to the more circular economy. So when we are looking at where we are getting our supplies and where we're moving it to, if we can find this connection some way, again, this comes of talking to each other, then we're working towards an economy which can sustain itself for longer. With food production in issues, there are manufacturing issues, there are labour issues, there are transport issues, resources are being depleted. We need to think about, I've got carbon capture here. I mean, we're doing that on the Isle of Man, we're planting peat, but we need to think about these things. We need to think about where we're letting carbon out and where we're bringing carbon in. And our supply chain, we are just part of a supply chain on both directions. So yes, part of the steps we can take right now is to understand our place in the supply chain. Okay, so fifth, take ownership of your achievements, but never greenwash, because greenwash will destroy your reputation. Greenwashing will destroy your credibility. We had a recent example of that with Manx Gas, where they sent us all a leaflet saying, aren't we beautifully green, because we are carbon neutral, and immediately there was the backlash that you've just sold your carbon debt, that does not make you green. And yeah, so that was something that immediately spread around the Isle of Man, and your reputation and your credibility is really hard to get back. So don't greenwash. You advertise what you do well, but make sure that it is what you are doing well. Show that you know your provenance. Show that you know your business. Show that you can trace it back. You can trace it forward. That you know this is local. Whatever it is that you're doing that's good. If it's natural products, yes, make sure that you can show where they come from, and hopefully, yeah, they're local. Put goals out in the public domain and meet them. Take on climate change calls, raise awareness while showing your customers and the public what you are doing. This doesn't just have to be a charity thing. You can make a profit. If you think of a company like Intermarché, you might not know the company, but probably if you've ever been to a pret-a-manger, you will have seen the pictures. So what they did is they took on food waste, and they said, right, we're going to take these misshapen fruits that are perfectly good, we're going to sell them as normal fruit and vegetables, because they turned it into a marketing campaign. We're going to raise awareness that you can juice a carrot and an apple or cook with it. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit knobbly. So if you're in pret-a-manger, you'll see these pictures that they with funny-shaped avocados or funny-shaped aubergines or carrots and things, and that's where it came from. So you can take on a cause, you can advertise a cause, you can raise awareness for a cause, and you can still make a profit. So these are little things that you can do. Advertise, show provenance, publish your goals, take on a cause, make a profit, and raise awareness. Okay, so here is to-do list. Research your impact and research the dependency of climate change on society, the economy, and your business. So just see how they interact with each other. So there is a changing climate for business, and you need to find out what that changing climate is. What is changing as far as it reflects your business? So research that and imagine a net zero carbon future. And where does your business fit into that? You can see a prosperous business, a net zero world around you. And there are milestones you'll need to get there. And if you start envisaging it and imagining it, you can start seeing the steps you need to take to get there. So you will need to redesign. You will need to repurpose. The economic system is repurposing as we speak. These values are changing. People are seeing value in other things other than the bottom line. That is changing the way that they see businesses. That is changing the way that they invest. That is changing the way people buy. That is changing the way people want to work. Yes, have a look at what's happening with the economic system all around you. People want to work for a company that they really believe in. People want to work for a company that values society and values the environment. It's not economic suicide to put your value on a triple bottom line anymore. It's not a trickle-down system anymore. So think of policy and partnership to move beyond business as usual. You need to collaborate and help lead a low carbon transition. We need to embrace partnerships. We need to learn from success stories and learn from others. Read about how other companies are doing things. Explore that. So moving to net zero from a carbon intensive planet, we need to hear that other people have done it. We need to know that this is actually a new normal. Keep up to date with innovation and design and what's going on around there. Upgrade whenever you can. Lead the new normal. Show people how it's done. Find new ways of doing it and be proud of it. Advertise it. Show people there are ways. So not everybody is going to be able to keep up to date all the time. If you can keep as up to date as you can and upgrade as much as you can, you're showing people out there the other things that they can do. And the more people move forward, the more that you can then push to move forward in other steps that you stay ahead. So lead it. Manage it well. There is going to be disruption. There is going to be change. So you just need to be ahead of the curve. Recognize the competencies that you are going to need. Recognize the benefits you're going to get and work towards that. So back to this imagining. Vision your net zero carbon future. Imagine it. Work out the steps. Repurpose, redesign. Work together. Learn from others. Upgrade where you can and manage this change well. So there's my summary. Analyze. Develop solutions. Solutions that are based in society and based in the environment. Nature-based solutions. Keep in mind this move to a circular economy. Increase your education, share your knowledge. Find out exactly what's happening, find out your position, use that problem-solving brain. Work in partnership with other people who are also trying to find solutions. Upgrade as soon as you can, so then you can start seeing the next things moving forward. You're keeping yourself ahead of where you need to be. Think local as much as you can. And that's it. The important thing is to start. Start with what you can. Nudge yourself forward. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Start small, collaborate, and share ideas. This is what you need, the 3 C's of successful implementation. Commitment, coordination, communication. It's not just you that needs to be committed, it is your whole team. But commitment from the top is vital. Make sure everybody knows how things are going. Make sure people know what's going on. Talk to each other. This is just a quick slide at the end. This is not everything. This is just what I didn't want to fill a page. So these are the most important ones as far as I see. I am also, I think, going to be starting focus groups and some consultancy. So if you would let me have your emails, then when I get some focus groups underway, I can invite you all to that and we can continue this dialogue. Or if you'd like one-to-one consultation, we could sort that out too. So on island opportunities and information, beach buddies, and as I mentioned earlier, this plastic-free business scheme. It's a nice, good nudge. It's a really good thing. There's the biosphere. You can be buddies, partners, even photographers. Just getting involved, just working towards keeping this biosphere. The Chamber of Commerce has their climate change program. The Manx Wildlife Trust is working with the Agri-Environment Scheme. We've got a flood hub, so help with disaster management infrastructure. This is just a link to the Cabinet Office's climate change page. This is the Chamber of Commerce's link to the climate change programme. And this is a link to the impact report that on the Isle of Man that was commissioned. And that's me. So thank you all very much. I'm going to go back to this one. Thank you all very much. Get in touch with me if you would like some consultation or to take part in the focus groups. Ali has plenty of information now about what the government is doing. Obviously, the One World Centre is here to help you. 14th of September, I meant to mention this earlier. There will be, with the biosphere, a circular economy triple bottom line seminar where there'll be quite a lot of discussion going on in there. We can work out what level of businesses we're at. We're also going to be looking at opportunities that are available for businesses to set up to fill certain gaps. We're going to try and have a big list of things that we can do or add into our businesses to help us move towards a carbon zero future. So 14th of September, Biosphere. So it would be really lovely to see you all there. And thank you all very much. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you.